We are live.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the regular session of Elgin County Council this February 13th, 9 a.m. Documents.
The result of minutes of January 30th, 2024 regular meeting of council and February 5th, 2024 special meeting of council be adopted.
There are no errors or omissions out there. Over and second. Councilor Weaver. Excuse me, Councilor Noble. All in favor?
Oops.
Before we move on, I just want to make a comment. We appreciate the notes for the locator was for special meeting with a lot of detail and action there. Usually well, fine. This is something. Remind members of disclosures pertaining to interest in the general nature thereof. Brings us to section 4, presenting petitions, presentations, and delegations. This morning we have William Van Rates, Inclusive Communities Consulting and Life Skills, Project Lifesaver Funding Request. William, welcome to the podium. And that's the turn microphone.
Hello, thank you everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to come here for me to speak to you about Project Lifesaver. So I'll be brief. I won't have too much of your time. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day out there. Project Lifesaver. I was approached a few months ago. This is a project that we've been working on for about 6 months to bring this out. And what it is partnership. So Project Lifesaver is an international organization. It's not profit, and they're many locations throughout the states. We have a few here in Ontario. I know Hope has it. I believe 12 has similar project up and running right now. And what Project Lifesaver does is provides extra security and extra peace of mind for families and caregivers of people with cognitive disorders or intellectual disabilities. So Elgin County is a large place. We have many families and long-term care residents, retired homes. So the number of people that we have that could be vulnerable or have risk of wandering or becoming lost in their community, especially in rural setting where we have we have woods, we have cornfields. When you have a family member that's at risk of being lost, the panic that sets in, especially if you're out in a rural area, you can't describe that. So what Project Lifesaver does is, again, providing that peace of mind for families by building a database for families that want to subscribe to this service, and families can purchase a wearable tracking device, whether it's a bracelet or a piece that goes on your ankle, and then if someone becomes lost, what first responders can do is they can come to that area and track the person, usually within a short time frame. So it could reduce a search that would take hours down to 20-30 minutes. It's not a GPS system. It's GPS we find is not as reliable, but it's driven from St. Thomas to Elmer. There's a spot where you lose signal. So GPS isn't as reliable, batteries die. What this system does is it provides a more reliable tracking service for people, and also with privacy because we're not using GPS. So if someone does become lost, when first responders come, they dial into the code for that device that person's wearing, which can help them track that person. There have been instances where this has been used down in the States, and even in Ontario, there's been a few examples where first responders have been able to go to where someone last seen and find them within a 20-30 minute time period, where a lot of search and rescues can take up to hours, days, weeks, which unfortunately turn into recovery. So this is something that we don't currently have in Elgin County, and we would like to bring to Elgin County to, again, provide that security and that peace of mind for families of at-risk individuals who could be, whether it's a senior with dementia or Alzheimer's, or a youth with an intellectual disability. So outside of here, what I do is I support adults and youth with intellectual disabilities. And to give you a little bit of background information, and just an example, if you have a youth that may have autism, maybe nonverbal, and they become lost, you send first responders out, you send police, fire, volunteers out. Well, now you have someone that's nonverbal, so if you call out, you're not going to be calling back. You also could have youth that might be afraid of someone with a uniform. I've seen that a number of times. Or they could be afraid of loud noises. So you get a lot of people out running and shouting and trying to search for someone. And now you have that youth moving further and further away. A lot of, we have youth that could be trapped with water as well. And they have a lot of water around. So with this device, again, it's shortening the time frame, giving first responders a better opportunity to find someone and have a good outcome instead of looking for recovery. This is a partnership with inclusive communities as well as victim services. We're going to be the organizations that get this up and running. We have support of Elgin OPP, St. Thomas Police, as well as Elmer Police. So what we're looking to do is purchase 4 receivers that can be spread out throughout Elgin County and have officers trained to use these devices. So that way any families that are within Elgin County that want to sign up for this service, they'll be used. So anytime there's a call anywhere in Elgin County, we'll have a device available that can go out, and officers that are trained to use this and go out and do a search and bring the family member home. There is an upfront cost. As you can see in the letter that I sent out, we're looking to raise about $18,000. This is for purchasing of the actual equipment, which will give us the transmit, the receivers, as well as some devices that we can start using with families and doing some training. And then ongoing sustainability for this will be through subscription for families that want to sign up. Right now, last week I actually presented to Elmer Council, so we were able to secure $6,000 in funding. But there's more help, so I'm asking if you're willing to support this, so we can get this up and running, and get some safety and security for families. That's a brief rundown, so I'll open it up any questions you have.
Thank you, William. Does anyone have any questions? Good morning, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. So on an ongoing basis, what do you look at for an operating cost as far as the bracelets go? What kind of costs are associated with them? How's that recovered?
Thank you. Through you. It's strictly volunteer based. So the training to use this has already started. The police, the Elgin OPP, St. Thomas Police, and Elgin Police already sent officers for training. So that's no cost. They take care of that. The cost of the equipment is through subscription services, but to actually run the program, that's volunteer based. So that would be myself and victim service.
We're volunteering our time to run this. So this isn't a project where we make a profit off of or anything. It's just something that we're doing to try to give back to Elgin County.
Okay, William, I think to carry on a little further with that inquiry, Jack has I'm going to ask a question first, and then I'll let Jack in. Thank you for that. The cost of these transmitters, and they are going to be borne by subscription base. Is that what you're implying?
Correct. There's an initial cost. There's an upfront cost for you mean for the actual transmitter to use, or for the device for the bracelet? So there's an upfront cost for families. I don't have the exact number, but it's a lower cost. Mm-hmm. And then there's a yearly subscription for families, which covers replacement of batteries or any upkeep as well for the device.
All right, thank you for that. Councillor Cookett.
Yes, good morning. Sorry to be a little late. I don't know whether this was covered by Mr. Van Raes or not earlier, but I of course support this particular project, and Elmer Council did pass the funding request last week at the council meeting. I just wanted to point out that Mr. Van Rys is also a counselor for the town of Elmer, for those who didn't know, and he is a volunteer firefighter, and he is also the chair of the Elmer Police Service Board, so he knows of which he speaks. So this is a very worthwhile project, so I support it totally.
Thank you for your comments, Counselor. Any additional questions? Counselor Noble?
Through you, Mr. Warden. William, you said you didn't have the number. Do you have a ballpark number of what the bracelets are worth? Just curious.
I'm hesitant to give a number because I don't want to be quoted on it, but from conversations I have, I believe we're looking around the $300 to $400 range for the bracelet.
Okay. Counselor Jiguer? Or was that answered?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Warden. And thank you for the presentation. So of course, I agree, this is a concern in our community, and it's not just for, as you pointed out, an aging population. It has multiple services. But of course, I just want to also recognize the number of worthy causes and other issues that we're facing in the community, in the county. So we do have a grant application, framework. And I would like to make sure that we're very respectful of that, because other organizations with, concerns and worthy causes are bound by, those deadlines and can't apply unless there's another intake. So I'm worried that by fully considering this request today, then we're creating multiple streams. And, but that's perhaps something that could be referred to the Rural Initiatives Committee, who looks after the grant process. I don't think the grant process has been fully completed, and I don't know if the committee perhaps would consider taking a late application. But as far as county council, I caution us to, as much, again, as it is a worthy and important initiative, I caution us to open ourselves up to ongoing intake and applications and requests, and when we have a program for that. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Yep, thank you for that. I know the intake period closed in November for the 2024 program, but you're right. One additional question for me. William, I assume this is a one-time seek from Elgin County.
Correct. It's a just one-time startup cost. After that, it'll be sustainable.
All right. Okay. Anything additional from any member? Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Warden. I would agree with Councilor Jiguer. I think this probably should be referred to the proper process. I think we could probably make an exception to the timelines for applications. In this case, I wouldn't have an issue with that. I think it's something it should be dealt with in the proper way.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you have a deadline on this, William?
We don't have a hard deadline,
All right.
but it's something that we've been working on for at least 6 months, and we'd like to get it going sooner rather than later. Again, it's hard to put a deadline on saving lives. So it's something that the training's done. We're just waiting for the equipment. So we were hoping to have everything ordered by March, but it's just a matter of, again, getting the funding together.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Jiguer?
And Mr. Warden, if I may also request that through the application, if you're able to provide the full financial picture in terms of the costs for the families, like the subscription costs, and also if there are examples of the uptake in other jurisdictions, just to get a sense of if this is in fact accessible to families once it's put in place, because subscription fees are, it's still an additional cost that perhaps some families and most vulnerable families may not be able to afford. So I think it will be important to paint the full picture for the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, we do have, and thank you very much for your presentation this morning, William. We have a motion, Jenna? At least a preliminary or a starting point?
Be it resolved that the presentation from William Van Rays from Inclusive Communities Consulting and Life Skills be received and filed.
All right, does anyone wish to either move, second, make amendments to that? Did you wish to refer it to the Rural Initiatives Committee? Deputy Warden Jones?
I would add that it be referred to the Rural Initiatives Committee for consideration.
Okay. Willing to move that? Thank you. I need a seconder for that, unless there's a. Okay, Councillor Whitner. I'll take Councillor Whitner first. Does anyone need to have the motion reread? Are we all clear? All right. All in favor of the motion as amended? Any opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Moves us to section 5, Committee of the Whole.
Be it resolved that we do now move into Committee of the Whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones, Councillor Noble. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Section 6, reports of council, outside boards and staff. 6.1, the warden's activity report. It has been included in the agenda. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Otherwise, the report shall stand on its own.
Be it resolved that the report titled Warden's Activity Report, January 2024, dated February 13th, 2024, from Warden Ketchabah be received and filed.
We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Noble. Deputy Warden Jones. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 6.2, the 2023 Land Division Committee Chairman, the Elgin County Land Division activities for 2023. A promotion, Paul?
Good morning, Mr. Warden and members of council. Thank you, and through you, Mr. Warden, to council. First off, I would like to extend regrets on behalf of Mr. Ian Fleck, who's unable to attend today's council meeting due to illness. So I will be presenting this report on his behalf. The Elgin County Land Division Committee had another busy year in 2023, along with some very significant changes, both within the committee's composition and to the legislative framework under which the committee operates. Similar to council, our new term for the Land Division Committee started in 2023. Several members were returning and reappointed, as well as some new faces. To that end, we hosted a introductory orientation seminar for Land Division Committee members, both as a refresher for our returning members and some general information for our new members to familiarize themselves with the legislative framework under the Planning Act and the Provincial Policy Statement. In addition to this orientation session, we also covered the More Homes Built Faster Act 2022, which received royal assent in November of 2022. As the Land Division Committee in 2022 had its last meeting in October, our first meeting back with this new committee was the first time that we were operating under those legislative changes. One of the most significant legislative changes made by that act was the ending of third-party appeals for consent applications. Previously, any person or public body who made comments to the committee or made comments in writing to myself prior to the decision of the committee could appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. More Homes Built Faster amended the Planning Act to remove those third-party appeals. Now the only appeals that can be filed with the Ontario Land Tribunal are by prescribed persons or public bodies, which is now a defined term in Section 1 of the Act. As a result of this change, we have received no appeals in 2023 to any of our consent applications. This is a significant reduction. Typically, there are a few appeals per year that go to the tribunal. We've had none so far and none so far in this year's term. We're given a glimpse of the new provincial policy statement at the end of last year. A report was made to council at that time as well, covering some of the proposed changes. The provincial government decided not to move forward with that version of the provincial policy statement and instead delayed that. At some point this year, we are hoping for a new draft with some revisions that the province is intending to make. However, at this time, that new provincial policy statement draft has not been released and is not yet open for comments. In terms of the number of applications that the Land Division Committee received last year, it was slightly lower than normal. Usually we get around 100 applications a year. Last year we had 89. 3 of those were deferred or withdrawn at applicants' request. Of the decisions that were made, 45% of the total applications were for residential lot creation within existing settlement areas. That is up slightly compared to 2022, in which 40% of our applications were within settlement areas. 25% of those applications are for surplus farm dwelling lots. And I would now be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you for that report, Paul. Very much appreciated, and it looks like it's been a busy year regardless. Any questions for Paul? Well done. Like Land Division, I think Council 2 is waiting to see what is finally going to come from the provincial policy statement. It would be nice to have some clarity. Okay, seeing no questions?
Be it resolved that the report titled Elgin County Land Division Activities for 2023 from the Elgin County Land Division Committee Chair and the Secretary Treasurer dated February 13th, 2024 be received and filed for information.
Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Noble and Councillor Hentz. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. 6.3, Director of Human Resources, the annual Council Committee update on the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, and through you, Mr. Warden, to members of County Council. The report before Council outlines a high-level summary of what the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, the JAAC, activities and accomplishments were throughout 2023. The committee is a legislated requirement for both the county and Central Elgin due to population size, and the county and Central Elgin have agreed to facilitate this joint committee as is permitted by the legislation. The committee is comprised of elected officials and community members, preferably community members with lived experience with disability, in order to bring diverse perspectives to the committee's objectives and priorities. The JAAC has been facilitated by the county's accessibility coordinator in past years and will continue to be facilitated within the HR department once we're able to appropriately backfill the accessibility responsibilities, which is currently under consideration as part of Council's current budget deliberations. We do hope to recruit for the HR position in the near future in order to ensure JAAC activities and overall accessibility legislative requirements, as well as planned diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives will continue throughout 2024 and beyond for the county and all 7 of our local municipalities. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report, Amy. Any questions? It is early yet, but Amy, do you know, are they planning another open house as they did last September?
Yes, through you, Warden. I have heard that they are planning another open house, and this year looking at doing it earlier, potentially in June. So they are hoping to get going on planning the open house as soon as possible.
Okay.
Jointly with St. Thomas again.
I had the opportunity to attend a portion of it last year, and I found it very interesting. And it's worthwhile to, if you have an opportunity, to at least visit the open house and see what's being offered. And yes. Anything further from members? Oh. Jenna?
Be it resolved that the report titled Annual Council Committee Update Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee dated January 30th, 2024 from the Director of Human Resources be received and filed.
Do I have a mover and seconder for that, please? Deputy Warden Jones? Counselor Widner? All in favor? That's carried. 6.4, Manager of Procurement and Risk, Procurement Activity Report, fourth quarter. That's from October 1st to December 31st, 2023. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you to County Council. So this quarterly procurement activity report details the awards of contracts that were approved by directors, valued between $15,000 and $250,000. This report covers the period from October to December of last year. The list of the projects, the supplier, and the amounts is attached as Appendix A. I can confirm that all contracts do comply with the county's procurement policy, and at this time, I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Does any member of council have any questions? Counselor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Just through to Mike, I see we purchased a 2023 pickup. I'm glad to see we bought locally. It'll make it much easier for warranty work and for service work, and nice to support our local business. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Any additional questions? The one ask I have, Mike, is regarding the external audit services. I assume the quote prices for the 5-year term? I hope.
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further questions. Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that the report titled Procurement Activity Report Q4, October 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, dated February 13th, 2024 from the Manager of Procurement and Risk be received and filed.
Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Noble will move. Counselor Hentz will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to 6.5, Manager of Corporate Facilities, Contract Award, Corporate Facility Contract Cleaning Services.
Good morning. Through you, Mr. Warden and the members of council, excuse me. The report before you outlines the bids received for the cleaning contract for the Administration Building, Heritage Center, and POA Building. Their proposal is for a 2-year term and subject to satisfactory performance and extension up to 3 one-year terms. A request for proposal was advertised in bids and tenders, and 15 proposals were received, with the highest scoring qualified and lowest bid coming in from Corporate Mirror Incorporated, of a bid price of $248,583 plus HST. Staff is recommending that the contract be awarded to Corporate Mirror Incorporated at a costing of $248,583 plus HST. Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report, Ryan. Does anyone have any questions? Counselor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Have we used this company before?
We have not. Our current cleaning contract, we're experiencing some concerns with. So this is why we went out for an RFP this time. So we put out a proposal, and that proposal was outlining all the issues that we're having concerns with. And so part of the proposal was for them to put a plan in place for all of their action items on how they're gonna meet our needs.
Additional questions? Okay, I think council's satisfied.
Be it resolved that contract cleaning services for the Administration Building, Heritage Center, and POA Courthouse be awarded to Corporate Mirror Incorporated for a 2-year term at a total price of $248,583 plus HST, and that staff be authorized to extend the cleaning contract for an additional 3 one-year terms in accordance with Section 7.6 of the procurement policy, subject to satisfactory performance during the initial 2-year contract term, and that the Warden and Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to sign the contract.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones and Counselor Jiguer. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to Section 7, Council Correspondence and items for information, the consent agenda. slow bringing it up. Okay, so we have a report from the Elgin Ontario Health Team and the Elgin County Drowning Prevention Coalition. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Seeing none?
Be it resolved that correspondence items 7.2.1 and 7.2.2 be received and filed.
We have a mover and seconder for that. Counselor Noble. Deputy Warden Jones. All in favor? That's carried. Brings us to section 8, other business. Does anyone have any statements or inquiries? Notice of motion? Matters of urgency. We will move on then with closed meeting items.
Be it resolved that we do now proceed into closed meeting session in accordance with the Municipal Act to discuss the following matters under Municipal Act, Section 239-2. Closed meeting item number 1, closed meeting minutes, January 30th, 2024. Closed meeting item number 2, organizational update, Section 239-2B. And closed meeting item number 3, advice regarding potential litigation, Section 239-2E and F.
Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Widner will move and Counselor Noble will second. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Moving right along through this agenda, does anyone want to? Welcome back. Motion to rise and report.
Be it resolved that we do now rise and report.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Jiguer, Counselor, okay, thank you. Yeah, that guy. All in favor? Carried. Closed meeting item number 1.
Be it resolved that the closed meeting minutes from the meeting held on January 30th, 2024 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Widner, Counselor Noble will second. All in favor? That's carried. Closed meeting item number 2.
Be it resolved that the confidential report from the Director of Community and Cultural Services be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Counselor Jiguer, Counselor Noble will second. All in favor? That's carried. Closed meeting of item number 3.
Be it resolved that the confidential report from the Director of Legal Services be received for information and that the Director of Legal Services proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder, Deputy Warden Jones, Counselor Widner. All in favor? That is carried. Brings us to motion to adopt recommendations from the Committee of the Whole.
Be it resolved that we do now adopt recommendations of the Committee of the Whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones and Counselor Noble. All in favor? That's carried. Confirming bylaw.
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw number 24-06, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the Municipal Council of the Corporation of the County of Elgin at the February 13th, 2024 meeting.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Jiguer. I see Counselor Hintz. All in favor? That's carried, which brings us to the adjournment motion.
Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 9:51 a.m. to meet again on February 27th, 2024 at 9 o'clock a.m.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Widner. Deputy Warden Jones. All in favor? And that is carried. And that is one of the quicker council meetings that I have witnessed at Elgin County. Thank you for attending. I would remind everyone that we do have a budget committee open house this evening. I believe it's 5 o'clock. And if anyone wishes to attend in person, be here, or there will be a virtual option. So again, thank you and have a great day.